My name is Aziza Omarova, and I have a privilege to moderate the session today with the very distinguished members of our panel discussion. It has been quite interesting to observe the dynamic during the forum, and I think we came naturally to the point when we're going to spend with you the next hour discussing from different angles the sector that has a very.
И мы знаем, что в Узбекистане есть некоторые секторы, которые очень важны для развития нашей экономики. И знаем, что самое важное вот эта встреча, которая означает важность, это в двух аспектах. Первое — это когда Узбекистан знает и знает, чтобы войти в глобальную масштабу и еще хочет развивать свои секторы. И еще на втором аспекте мы увидим, что в Узбекистане должны быть созданы новые карьеры, и мы должны помочь людей Узбекистана, чтобы они смогли работать в полноценном масштабе. И мы знаем, что международные организации помогают нам в этом деле, и мы должны государству с других секторах объединить, и еще как частный сектор должны быть привлечены к этому делу тоже. И мы знаем, что должно быть на самом деле
of the sector and benefiting people and businesses in Uzbekistan. Unfortunately, we have only 1 hour. Unlike many other panel discussions, we will be limited, so I will not go into bios and details of the speakers, but of course, you most probably already know who is speaking today. I will be also asking our speakers to limit if it's possible, to 7 to 8 minutes. And if we are lucky to finish 5 minutes to 4, I would like to take 1 or 2 questions from the audience, because I feel people have questions. It would be very important to give the space for you. Without any further ado, I would like to give a floor to Madame Olga Algayeva, who is Under-Secretary of UNECE. It's UN Commission for Economy for Europe, and she would like to talk to you about the international situation, norms and standards related to the textile industry in Uzbekistan. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here. I would like to thank for inviting me to talk about such important sector for Uzbekistan. And I understand the topic of today is textile, leather and silk. I would focus on textile because just now I spent beautiful lunch, and thank you, with Mr. Iklom, who is the head of the association here responsible, and he's really very much experienced. I was impressed. He's many years, 14 years work on the textile industry, where we work together with US Textile Prom and the association on something what I want to present here today. But generally, why the textile industry is so important for Uzbekistan? Some numbers, I'm not sure whether they are correct, but I think they are telling me that the textile industry create 25% of GDP of Uzbekistan. And I heard today that since Uzbekistan stopped to sell like raw cotton and added the value to the converted into textile products, it's like share to GDP, or the volume or the value increased by 4 times. So it's, well, and of course, it gives also important share of jobs in Uzbekistan. So it's very important. From the United Nations point of view, we are looking on this environmental, social, and good governance part of the sector, because you can do a lot in like introducing circular economy, decrease the carbon footprint of the sector, to bring the energy efficiency to the sector. And I need to congratulate Uzbekistan now, because what we saw in last year, first of all, speaking about the governance, we saw the country to tackle issues like forced labor and child labor. Okay? We saw the country to tackle environmental challenge by bringing in new technologies, addressing soil degradation through the introduction of water-saving irrigation techniques. And this is when I tell you that it brought to higher efficiency, resource utilization efficiency. And also we saw the country to progressively introducing international standards and certification schemes. Such schemes will certainly play a tremendous role to support Uzbekistan's sustainable development strategy and export growth for this industry. And why I am sitting here, because the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, we are exactly, we have 150 subsidiary bodies, a group of experts, steering committees, out of our 56 member states, and those experts work together, and they produce those standards and norms and policy instruments, and then we try to implement them, if country wishes so. We never do it if country doesn't wish so. And we help them by technical assistance to increase the capacity and to implement those standards and norms. And it helps them, for instance, changing legislation. And now we see the big reforms of the president of Uzbekistan. So this is part of our recommendations, our legislative recommendations for changes. So I really need to congratulate Uzbekistan on the field of textile industry. We saw these positive changes on many spheres. But now, what is it we did? If you want to tackle the environmental, social, and governance impacts of any industry, you need, first of all, to be able to measure the negative impacts. Then, if you know them, you need to mitigate those negative impacts, and finally, you need to prevent them. Okay, and now speaking about using digital tools, okay, and this is what we did indeed together, and I'm sure you will speak about it in more detail. So, and I speak about transparency and traceability of value chains, and we are using blockchains, so you can track the textile product from cropping, even, you know, from very beginning of the process till the last T-shirt on the shelf in the buyer's shop. Okay, and what does it mean? It is really a challenge because you need to tackle a complex of issues, but it's worse because, first of all, we know that there is in the EU, there is proposal for a directive on corporate sustainability due diligence, okay? And this proposal will make large European companies accountable for human rights violation, but namely for any environmental harm caused throughout the supply chains. So if we have this transparency and traceability of value chains, so then we can claim that we don't cause any environmental harm, you know. So, and this EU draft directive put particular emphasis on the agri-food minerals for textile sectors, and that will definitely influence the sourcing decisions of the buyers. And now, if we have such a draft decision of the EU, such an act, a legal act, you know, then we can speak about GSP Plus, you know, the preferential program, and by having this traceability and transparency of value chains, you know, of course, we are part of this preferential program. So we are harnessing the power of digitalization. But now we want to do even more. We are offering the support for implementing. We created 3 clusters. By the way, 2 of them were classified to be like better cotton clusters. So if we can grow it, I hear that neighboring countries are asking for help of Uzbekistan and our help to do the same. So maybe you can be the leader on this innovative approach. And okay, so we are environmentally friendly. We are, it's business feasible. It's is up to date, you know. And we can just develop it, implement it, and I believe I spent my 8 minutes, and I hope we can have later some discussion. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. We're also going to hear today from Dan Patterson, who will be speaking later about specific tools, how to trace the origins of the product. So it will be also linked this international requirements and norms with the way how to do it practically in Uzbekistan. We hope it will be insightful for those who are listening to our discussion today. Without further ado, I would like to give a floor to the chairman of the Uzbekistan Textile and Garment Industries Association, Mr. Ilhom Haydarov. And it's very, very important because while we're discussing both the silk and footwear and leather and textile, however, we have to admit also that the share that cotton has specifically is disproportionate, is very big. So that's why it's important to also hear what is being in the pipeline for the industry. And also what is important that according to the international data, cotton has 2.7% of the world yearly usage of water. That it's very important how it's being regulated from the sustainability point of view, but it also accounts to 10% of pesticide used in the world. So 10% of pesticide is being used specifically for growing cotton. That's why it's extremely interesting to listen to all new policies in this area and be aware and keep abreast, but then also maybe provide the feedback during the discussion section. Thank you very much. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I really honored to be here. Assalamu alaikum. Hurmatli bugungi anjuman qatnashchilari.
Good day.
To make short presentation for 5 minutes, but I'm honored to be seated next to Madame Algaerova, who are helping a lot for making our industry visible outside of Uzbekistan. And I thank you all participants today. I can recognize some of you. You made a long trip, but I could tell you, you will never ever regret that you made this trip to Uzbekistan and that you are sitting today's session. Okay, we saying that Uzbekistan textile industry overview. I will try to stick for 5 minutes with 4 slides. And of course, I cannot cover everything. We have here professionals who can cover some more even issue. I really invite you, after my presentation, maybe you can add complementary some other thing. Okay, this is just a figure. Madame Algaero already mentioned. We have very important industry within our economy. Yesterday it was recognized that we are amongst one of the driver. Our export, our value addition, our job place creation. We are working in very remote places of Uzbekistan. You could go to any of 200 districts of Uzbekistan and you will find decent textile and garment factory. So you could see here our product range and our priorities. You could see among our priorities, it is export. We are very much export-oriented industry, and our export last year totaled 3.2 billion. This is outstandingly good because 6 years ago it was hardly reaching 1 billion. And next of our priority is technology and innovation. This is not just a word. We are trying to be not only cotton-centered industry, we are going to introduce some other raw materials like synthetic, and also yesterday we discussed with some of colleagues here that hemp or viscose could be very interesting raw material for us. We are working a lot on quality control. We would like to be not just working on a medium, on low-medium market. We are touching also market of high-end. Of course, luxury brand, which some of you are wearing, it is not yet our target, but one day you will see that some luxury brand would also be sourced in Uzbekistan. On top of this, we believe that some Uzbek brands would become luxury, so you would be nicely wearing not only authentic Uzbek clothes, but also some formal clothes out of Uzbekistan. And of course, I mentioned already, we are trying to reach the upper market of international brand. Okay, we trying to make rapidly evolving. And I put here, with the permission of our partner, who are helping us with this in evolving. And you could see UNEC as one of our partners here, GIZ, another partner, which is also sitting in here. And it was mentioned that we are working tightly with Better Work program, and we hope next month in May, we will be signing memorandum covering and starting piloting Better Work program in Uzbekistan. I would tell you that Better Work, this is a program of ILO and IFC, and they are making compliances for Uzbek exporters. Of course, Better Cotton already started in Uzbekistan. Small step, but it is a step. That is why you have to know that we were 12 years under so-called boycott. We just went out of this boycott last year, and for us it's quite a challenge today. And here you could see some cooperation ideas which we are introducing to you, so you can pick up any of this and tell, yes, we are ready to cooperate with you on this particular direction, and we would be more than pleased to cope with this direction. As I mentioned to you, a very much export-oriented industry. Yes, it is little bit maybe not properly done map, because it looks like that we are only working west-wide, but believe us, we are working equally to west and east, north and south. Of course, CIS, but we are rapidly increasing our share in EU market. We are touching also North Africa. We are very good in China. We are very good in Korea and Japan. And I could tell you that first organic product out of Uzbekistan textile industry reached already Imabari brand in Japan. This is very important towel producing company. So they start allowing us to be in their supply chain. So, and you could see that we can be very competitive in European market. We are still quite close, even with all these challenges. With all challenges which is touching logistic, financial, payment, we are trying to cope with these challenges. We are always trying to find the way, and I will show you which way we are finding. We have a GSP Plus, it was mentioned. It makes our product more competitive in EU market. We have GSP Plus, GSP extended status to Great Britain. It is also, British market is interesting for us. And we have a CIS free trade agreement. This is the slide which I showed last week in 70th session of UNEC in Geneva, because they requested us to put everything in one slide. And I find out that this is very, very productive. You could see our cooperation with UNEC. We make cotton blockchain program in Uzbekistan. We produced first T-shirt out of this cotton blockchain program. I will tell you a few words. We introduced DNA marking in cotton fiber, and it was traced up until T-shirt, going through spinning, knitting, dyeing, finishing, and garmenting. And we have here a guest from, I believe, yes, Indorama, who supporting this program as well. We are working tremendously towards sustainability. We joined Sustainability Pledge. We are making our industry sustainable, not as a word, but as an essence also. We are also very much traceable industry. From cotton field up until brand, you can trace us with either cotton blockchain, which could be expensive exercise, but we are using also QR code, which is much maybe easier for us to use it. We are working in introduction of green energy. We counted all rooftops of textile industry. It was 4 million square meters. We are targeting 2 million square meters to put a solar panel. You know, you've heard about it during this panel session that, we have 320 days with sun, so it could give us good value. It also reduces our costing, we hope. And of course, we show here some names who are vertically integrated clusters. It was mentioned that we are not working within Uzbekistan. We went outside of Uzbekistan also, like our immediate neighbors, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan kindly requested us to make same system in their country. We are generously working on this. And yes, some of this supply chain. And yes, I would like to mention about digitalization. We introduced 3 programs on digital textile. First of them is One Fintech. This is a marketplace to buy up and sell some receivables. Could be very interesting for some of the investors. Textile map, it is also around here. You can find out information about any of Uzbek exporter. And Textile, this is a B2B platform which could help you to reach, to find out your partners. With this, I would like to finish and invite you for end of May. We are planning to have a big event. It would be with entire textile week, where we will have an exhibition, we will have a forum, we will have a fashion, we will have a field trips. So you are all invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now I would like to give a floor to Dan Patterson, and there are two things that I would like to mention about him. I know Dan for some time for his charity work for different social projects in Uzbekistan, but it's interesting that Dan's family came to Uzbekistan during Soviet Union time, bringing American seeds for the cotton. So it's like a third generation of people engaged with the Uzbek textile industry and cotton, and now it's the only American cluster dealing with the cotton in Uzbekistan. But second is very interesting because Dan has been inspired for quite some time with the idea of introducing Uzbek producers to the American markets, to the big retail stores and chains. And it seems to be, at the moment, extremely ambitious. However, as we see the fast pace of development, it also can be possible because we see how things are being, transformed at the blink of the eye. Floor is yours, Dan.
Thank you, Aziza. My name is Dan Patterson, and my company here in Uzbekistan is called Silverleaf. It's a cotton cluster. We're cotton producers. And I have another company, I don't know if we have the slides for it, but it's called Silverleaf Global Ag Tech. And as once said in the history of the world, that necessity is the mother of invention, as we look to Uzbekistan and some of these challenges that have and obstacles that have been put in the way of the growth of the textile industry, we have focused on digitalization. So what does digitalization mean? And I'll just kind of juxtapose that with maybe the DNA markers that were just spoken about, because the DNA markers are great and solve an issue of traceability. And it gives us the correct origin, but many of the problems that Uzbekistan has faced in the past with the cotton campaign, the blacklisting of cotton, were to do with human rights violations and human rights issues. And the vast majority of those issues came during the cotton harvest, where you have more temporary and migratory labor. So what we have done is we have looked at the origins of cotton to be twofold. If you have cotton that has been received to the gin, how do you know if it was hand harvested or machine harvested? If we could go to the next slide, I think it would be helpful. So here you see, back one. Yes? Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much. So here we have, still done today. When I first arrived in 2018, this was a photo that I took of the hand harvest in Uzbekistan, primarily across the whole country. A lot of mechanized harvest and machine harvest has been introduced in the company, and the fleets have grown substantially. Many of the modern clusters are using this type of technology. But if I'm at the gin, how do I know the difference between the hand harvested cotton and the machine harvested cotton? There's only one way to tell. If that machine could give me a digital footprint that illustrates the harvest of that cotton and it is collected without human intervention. So we have, 2 years ago, we hired a team of engineers in the United States. We focused on not just John Deere, but Case and any type of legacy harvester here in Uzbekistan, because we wanted to help face the challenge of looking at origins of cotton, not just from traceability, but also from the proof of a digital proof of machine harvested cotton, so that we're not managing the issues with human rights. We have eliminated the issues of human rights potential violations in cotton harvest. Now, when I talk to brands, as Aziza was mentioning, in the United States, one of their chief concerns is, okay, we have 2 years of data points. That's not a trend. So how do we know from a sustainability, if we're thinking about moving supply chains from China, from Vietnam, from Pakistan, from India, and looking at this robust textile industry that has been created in Uzbekistan, how can we have comfort that our reputation is not going to be tarnished? How can we make sure that our reputation can stay intact and we're not going to get mixed up in human rights violations in cotton harvest? So that gave us a very keen approach to engineering, where we have outfitted technology on all of our cotton harvesters. We tested this in Uzbekistan last year. We've tested it in 5 states in the United States, and we're testing it this month in Australia. So we're very excited about where this program is and the commercialization of it now, because Uzbekistan does have the opportunity to become the global leader in fully traceable and digitized cotton in the world. No other country has harnessed this type of opportunity and has this type of reputation that would push this type of advancement in agricultural and textile progress. So this next page shows that cotton harvester collected data, and the map that you see, this the yield heat map, illustrates that I can prove that every square meter of that field was harvested by a machine. We get a time stamp, date stamp, machine number, latitude, longitude. All of the digital metadata information is picked up on that cotton float into that machine. That's transmitted via cellular service to our servers, and so there's no one is intervening in that process. The cotton harvester on the left, on the right, is dumping into a trailer here, and we have the ability to weigh that and know what the weight of that basket is. So if that trailer goes to the gin and it had 2.2 tons in it and it shows up with 2.4 tons, there's a RFID that's attached to it that goes through our metadata system. And so when it comes to the gin, that trailer's read by its RFID tag. So when the gin receives it, it's already there. They do a reconciliation, make sure that there's a small, no more than a small variation in the weights. And that gives us a validation that we know that the cotton that has been collected came from that machine, and we have the process taking it into the ginning cycle. So whether it's onboard technology on a 2-row harvester, we tested this on all types of harvesters in Uzbekistan. The 2-row harvester you see here, the 4-row John Deere that was on the last slide, a 4-row case harvester, and a 6-row John Deere harvester. So we have that technology that we can pass all the way through, and the relationship between the trailer and the arriving at the gin and the samples from the lab, everything is combined together through the metadata system. We keep that information, and it goes into our ginned bale of fiber. And so we basically are passing a token along at that level that goes with that bale. When that bale then goes to the spinning mill, to the blendomat, we're able to then trace through that process. So you know what your output on cones are going to be in the textile process, and now you actually have full traceability with comfort that you have the digital harvested machine verified cotton that's in your garment. And just like the rest of the traceability through the system, it doesn't really matter if you're going to any particular blendomat. We can outfit the technology from there to the cones, going to the knitting mills, to the spinning mill, to the weaving mills, dyeing mills, and to the finish factories. So the real issue that we wanted to try to accomplish and address was driven by the brands from the United States that I met with, demanding that for us to have a greater comfort. Now, is that 10 years worth of data points to establish a trend of issues where we're not having human rights violations in the cotton harvest? Or can we solve it by eliminating it and digitizing agricultural harvest? So we're real excited about what the potential of this technology can do for Uzbekistan, and the opportunity that Uzbekistan could go from being in the back with blacklisted cotton just a few short years ago to being a global leader in machine harvested cotton. So 70% of the world's cotton is harvested by hand, 30% by machines. I think President Mirziyoyev has made some very strong recommendations to the Ag Ministry to increase Uzbekistan's mechanized harvest. But what we need is not just mechanized harvest, we need digitally verified machine mechanized harvest so that we can address these issues. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dan. Next speaker is a deputy chairman of the Uzbek State Association called Uz-Charm-Sanoat, and this association is responsible for the leather and the footwear in Uzbekistan. It already has been quite obvious that Uzbekistan at the moment has a quite vibrant market, and we see a lot of local brands that people are happy to buy. But it would be great to know what is more in your pipeline, and
Thank
the floor is
you.
yours.
Thank you, Aziza. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Farhod, Deputy Chairman of Uzbek Leather and Footwear Industry. It's always difficult to present after the textile industry, but I will try to do my best to present my presentation more attractive way. So, dear distinguished guests, Your Excellencies, I want to... okay. First of all, I want to show you what the association is and what kind of enterprises are members of the association. Just a moment. Okay. So, as you see, Association Uz-Charm-Sanoat combines enterprises producing leather, footwear, leather goods, leather garments, modern automated slaughterhouses, processing of wool, and Astrahan. You can see from the chart, from the slides, that the volume of the producing goods. Nowadays, during these 6 years, the enterprises of our industry has some preferences in case of customs and the tax. As you can see, I will not explain you detailedly because limit of time is 5 minutes. So, but we can discuss if someone will interest in that. On that, we'll discuss after our panel. So, as I said before, I have several customs preferences and tax exemptions. Next slide showing us why is investing in the leather and footwear industry and food industry in Uzbekistan so profitable right now, because we have some factors which are adopted according to the presidential and governmental decrees. For example, a great amount of raw material based in local market and the neighboring countries, according to the it's all calculating according to the right figures. So another advantage of this is support for intra and cross-sectional cooperation, cluster development. Third one is several decrees which are all rolls our industry enterprises. Fourth one is 100% protection of legitimate rights and interests of foreign investors. As I said before, these are all adopted according to the presidential and governmental decrees. So, fifth is uninterrupted supply of utilities, electricity, gas, water, and others, logistics, qualified personnel, and the eighth one is nowadays we have 16 district cities. In 16 districts and cities, we have small industrial zones, which are oriented, some of them for the leather, some of them for the footwears, and etc. This is figures which show the huge increase in the numbers. For example, according to the 2070, by the last year, it was 19 times increasing numbers in investment in localization products. We have over seven times increase in export. So as you see from the chart, by the last year it was $460 million US. It's of course it's small numbers in comparison with the textile industry, but anyway. We increased more than 10 times the production of goods and creating the jobs, new jobs. These are all in 5 minutes, which I wanted to show you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. The last speaker today is Alexander Pimenov, who is technical director of the company called Silk Traco SL. It's a company under the Spanish investment fund, and it's going to focus specifically on the silk processing issues in Uzbekistan. Alexander will talk to us about the global context of the market, but also developments and what needs to be done. Why I am specifically excited, because I think we all know that silk in Uzbekistan is still untapped resource. So while with the textile we've seen quite impressive figures on the export, with the silk we are not able as a country so far to sell it at a good price, and people are not in a full benefiting from the silk processing in Uzbekistan. That's why it's really interesting to hear what can be offered by the international businesses in this area to make sure that we are able to increase the quality of the silk, to be able to sell it at a better price, but also contribute to equitable development among the farmers and people who are producing silk. Floor is yours, Alexander.
Да, спасибо большое.
Thank you very much. Good morning, dear participants. My name is Alexander. I'm a technical assistant in the Silk Traco SL company, and I will today talk about on the topic about the silk industry, and we know that what the state in Uzbekistan, the silk industry, and I will talk about some topics, how to deal with some of the problems which is related to with the silk industry, and the future perspectives too. So this forum helps me to introduce you about giving you technical information and on the silk products, and we know this is we have some kind of standards, which is like some countries, so you can see on the screen, and the from the third we have a middle and also high quality products which is related to silk, and we know that for quality products we will give to European Union and have a cooperation on this, and also the supply chain which is among the European Union is related to the country which is China, and we know that some kind of producers who just produce like a quality of silk is some countries like China, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, as mentioned in our presentation. And here is you will see some imports amount in the worldwide or in the European Union scale. So this is by years, and explain it. And during the pandemic, we have some kind of challenges. That's why we could just lead. It could lead us to some kind of issues too. But you will see on the left side of the chart some kind of numbers in the percentage and in the amount of money. Some kind of just numbers are rising during the years, and the this is in the last years, and we have A, B, and other low quality products, and this is divided in three aspects. So we have some kind of expenses when it comes to calculating the cost of the real product, and producing silk products. It doesn't matter. It doesn't depend on the some kind of how the silk is produced with high technological in processes or not. And we know in order to produce quality silk products, we need some kind of processes, heating or giving some kind of heat rating or some processes in order to achieve these results. And of course, this is some kind of technical issues and processes. And real-time working, we know that planting some kind of these products could, in these processes, could some kind of create some problems like some kind of planting processes, like some materials can be so raw and in a low quality. It depends to all of them. And we know some unhealthy products or materials could lead this to just down gaining quality products, and just providing such a quality product, we need technical product making process that is related with the high modern equipments and technologies too. In Uzbekistan, there are producing like silk products that depends on the in some kind of different and the processes like selecting the materials and the gathering all of them, and also helping to achieve a good product result. So in Uzbekistan, we know that we have some kind of specialists who work on these processes, but these all just mentioned about aspects must be included in their work too. And we know we right now work on these like technical projects when we just want to develop some kind of quality goods. We need some just enhancing the processes and the producing system. And during the diversification, we can say that cotton or just I mean the silk could be achieved and with some kind of investors also that we have talked already. We just have talked even with the public institutions and organizations, and the private and public sector must be mixed and work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Now, if you allow me, we have around 15 minutes left. I would like to summarize quickly from my side as a moderator the key points that I was able to figure out today. But then I would like to give a floor to two questions from the audience. So if you have any questions or comments, please be prepared. We will get back to you in a minute. I think it was extremely informative and insightful exchange today. And we were reminded again that for 12 years, the country has been under the boycott, and it was quite difficult for this industry to develop. However, since the lift of the boycott, we are facing a new challenge, but it's a very positive challenge, right? How to make sure that we are credible in the global market, that we are able to trace the origin of the harvesting, of the conditions under which the cotton, silk, or anything else has been produced, and how to be able to successfully integrate in the global value chains. It was very reassuring to hear about different pilots that were guided by UN agencies like UNC, specifically on the blockchain, on the DNA marking. We also heard about initiatives on the digital tools for agriculture. And it shows that there is commitment and interest to test new tools and methods to be able to prove that we are doing everything in line with international norms and standards. It also was very clear today that the state associations are committed to strengthening industrial cooperation, to be able to tap on international businesses and corporations to make Uzbekistan market part of it. And also we've heard about a very strong government support that is exemplified and manifested in a series of different affirmative actions, different types of conditions created for the investors in this specific industry. While on the silk, I just want to remind us that just like with cotton, there was some concerns raised about cocoon harvesting by different reports at the moment. So if there is anything that could be done on cotton, it has been done. But if there is anything that could be done on silk, it should be done as well, because this is very important if we want to live up to our ambition and bring it to the international markets. That's why I think experience of European producers that will be guiding this process would be also very useful for Uzbekistan. Thank you very much for your sharings. And now I would like to give a floor to the audience, and I would ask my colleagues to help me with the microphones. People who would need someone to go around the rows. Yeah. So let me ask you if you have any questions, who would like to have intervention and talk? If not from the yes, please. And I would like to ask you to introduce yourself first.
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Сергей.
Good day, I'm Sergei Stanovkin. Question regarding problem with export of textile, silk, and product from Uzbekistan. These problems are in the production or logistics, or there are other problems as well. Like really, they speak on competition in the field of branding, and today not only they buy raw by price, but also how brand is strong. Thank you for the question. I think, yeah, it refers to all our three industries. Obviously, there are problems with production, quality, compliance, but you're right. Probably problem with how to say, recognizability or traceability. Recognizability, it's a serious problem. Till date, Uzbekistan, there is a stereotype that Uzbekistan is famous as a supplier of raw, be that cotton, silk, or leather. Our big objective is to represent Uzbekistan as an industrial, Uzbekistan supplying industrial product in the volume and quality, and obviously having recommended European brands could help us in this. We closely work with EU brands that year look and study. We hope that soon you will witness that product with logo made in Uzbekistan will appear in the shelves of European shops with recognizable by EU brands. Pleasure that today in the hall we have management of Young One, guys who were patient and worked with us. Finally, Uzbek product with brand of North Face appeared in the shelves of shops. Thus, it's rather noteworthy for us. Pleasant to say that product, Engelbert Strauss, famous European brand, also started buys not only cotton product, but product from leather. I repeat, recognizability or promotion. With Ms. Alger worked, they're helping us in the field of capacity building. We need to move seriously ahead. I refer to the audience so that you share your vision, comments, how to make our product more recognizable. Grateful to Dan for doing huge work so that he trusts us. It's good by itself, and that Uzbekistan will soon be one of the or a single country which will supply digital recognizability within cotton fiber. It's rather ambitious and pleasant. Thank you.
And I'm fully in line with Mr. Kaimarov. It's exactly that what we are doing with this traceability, transparency. What each buyer can read, how it was produced, what environmental impact we have, what social impact, how sustainable our production and distribution is. So it's like raising the value of the brand of Uzbekistan. I met your Minister of Trade, I met your Minister of Innovation, I met Minister of Economy. So the government is ready to support manufacturers and helping them to promote the brand of made in Uzbekistan, okay? So, but you need to do, and you are doing, this is why I congratulated, just introducing these sustainability tools, transparency tools, traceability tools. So you are making this progress, but of course, the work needs to continue. We need further financing for that, what we are just now speaking about, and it is not only for Uzbekistan, it's the region of Central Asia. If you help your neighbors, so it starts to grow, it's not so many, as I hear from colleague, not so many countries in the world are able to do what Uzbekistan is doing on this digital traceability. So let us continue doing that, and it is increasing the value of the brand of made in Uzbekistan. This is my understanding. Just continue. Thank you.
I also would like to add one thing. I've been working on, some years ago, at the request of the mayor's office in Namangan region. It's very far from Tashkent. Most probably you haven't been there. However, in Namangan region, there are so many different factories producing textile. And in one of them, for example, I just figured out that they're doing outerwear for the very fancy shop in the middle of Mariehilferstrasse in Vienna called Pick and Kloppenburg. So they're producing all those fantastic jackets for the brand. Or the same company does the same for Jones New York, but you can hardly actually chase them online because they're so modest. So in a way, we have to completely rewire the way of thinking and say, it's not about bragging around, because this is a typical, I think, Uzbek also trait. They are doing business, they are very diligent, they are very concerned about the reputation. However, they don't want this to be super public. So it's actually the contrary. So now we have to teach them that you're producing a very good quality because, companies like Jones are buying your things for the last 10 years, or Pick and Kloppenburg is buying from you for the last 8 years. So it's okay to be open about that, and then the image and branding comes in. But I think quality is already there. If somebody is making commitment and for many years working with this specific company, they're doing a really good job, no delays and a good quality. So I'm sure the stories like this will be told and will be shared in future, but the basis is already quite good. And the same actually, Namangan has now a company that does the men's suits for Hugo Boss. And I was exactly at the moment when the owner of the plant received the sample, and he told me, I'm really nervous about making the sample, but if we do well, we're going to get the contract. They got the contract. They did really well. And again, it's a typical, Uzbek entrepreneurs. By the way, if you want to make round of applause, please do, because I think it's the government together with the businesses making success stories like this. And if you talk to a person, you would be most probably very surprised. Very simple, very modest, very hardworking people. That's about the ethics of entrepreneurs in Uzbekistan, specifically in the textile industry. Any more questions? Please use this opportunity. You have a fantastic, terrific panel today. Please ask questions. Yes. We would need a microphone, please.
Thank you very much for a nice presentation. My name is Aziz Raslov. I am representing Global Green Growth Institute in Uzbekistan. I have two short questions. First one about the organic cotton. I saw on the slides, which is presented from Mr. Haidarov, it was mentioned that the organic cotton exported somewhere. My short questions about which is the market for organic cotton outside of Uzbekistan, and what is the perspective for organic? This first. Second one, I also highlighted in the slides that the investment in the country, 3.3 billion, export 3.2 million. What about 1.1? Is it remained in the country or is still reinvestment? Can you explain about that? Thank you.
That's a very punchy question.
Yeah, I always telling to my team that they have to be very careful with the figure on the slide, because it is written. You have to. We are committed eventually, but this is easy. We have a number of clusters sitting here in this room. For example, Hutch Textile is also around. They are producing organic cotton, which is pruned by Control Union of the Netherlands. So they are issuing special certificate, and out of this cotton we produce a yarn. Unfortunately, we could not use only portion of this organic cotton and saying that entire yarn would be organic. We have to be very cautious on this because brands are very cautious. I would tell you another thing. If conventional cotton would cost $2 and yarn out of this would be $3, we sold yarn of organic cotton at 6. So you see the multiplication. Of course, the yield is smaller, the job is bigger, but it's worth it. And especially I mentioned also in the slide that Imabari brand, which is requesting us, and they request all papers for this, and they accepted it. This is about organic. We are planning to increase. Today is about 1,000 hectares covering organic cotton, proven by international compliance agencies. Second question, this is a slightly different thing which you are trying to combine. Yes, we spent more than 3.3 billion as investment to make our industry grow. And we did out of this 3.2 billion export today, and we hope we will make it 4 billion this year, and we will be keep increasing. Our industry is a low-margin industry. We should accept it, and we have to make a volume. And we are, unfortunately, fortunately, we are quite credited industry, over-credited, I would say even. Some banks like us, some of them doesn't like us because of this. But what you can be sure, with the figure of 3.2 billion export last year, and the figure would be reaching above 4 billion this year, we will covering all our credit. And those investment, which was shown in the figure, it will be increasing annually, because every year we are having about 100 new entities on the industry, and every year we are absorbing about from 500 to 700 million US dollars investment for those 100 plus new entities. So this is the answer for the moment. Okay.
The last chance, last question, if any. Or comment, yes, please.
My name is Sachdev Ramakrishna. A question for you, Dan. You built this digital platform for, in some ways, your self-use. Is there some plan to kind of empower other people, other farmers to kind of feed off that? Or?
Thank you for the question. Yes, what we've done is over the last 2 years, we've developed this technology and used it primarily within our own farming system and cluster. But now we're commercializing it. And in 2023's cotton harvest, we'll have it commercially available for up to about 200 machines in Uzbekistan. If Uzbekistan doesn't want to do that, then we have other global opportunities both in Australia and Brazil. And as well as the United States. So I think this is an opportunity for Uzbekistan to gain momentum as a global leader, to give this as part of their answer to some of the past problems to gain confidence for some of these brands in the future? Thank you.
Yes, the last comment from the first row.
Sorry, just a short comment as it's using this opportunity, Mr. Ilham Kurc, sorry. On the point of view of investors, I would like to just say one statement about the labor code and the opportunity of overtime. So to be competitive with other countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, and others. So Uzbekistan has a weakness. In our labor code, we have to work 40 hours a week, and the overtime allowed only 120 hours a year. If you count, it will make 12 hours a month. But if we look to the other countries, competitors, countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam, on the point of view of investor, Uzbekistan does not look attractive. So this is our message, which we could use this platform and to deliver to our government to make the changes, because overtime is voluntarily, it's on both sides. And if we make this change in the labor code, so it will be more attractive to investors to put their factories in Uzbekistan and produce more garment. We are facing, we can compare with our factories in Bangladesh and Vietnam and others, where we can allow people earn more money by coming to overtime, because overtime paid double or 1 and 5 point times. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Да, спасибо.
Yeah, Mr. Muhammad Saeed from the Ministry of Investment, Foreign Trade and Industry. We will deliver this message. Of course, this is our uncompetitiveness, and we have to increase, because it doesn't mean that we have to work more than 40 hours. It means that we have to be allowed to work more than 40 hours, which sometimes the case. That is why, and brands are very much concerned about enforcement of legislation, and they would not go beyond the legislation which is enforced. That is why we have to look at it very carefully, and thank you very much for the comment.
Thank you very much. With this, I would like, with your permission, to conclude our fantastic panel discussion. Thanks to all our highly esteemed speakers. Thank you very much for your sharings. Thanks to the audience for your questions, for your interest, for your beaming eyes. It was a great pleasure, the last hour with you. Thank you very much. All the best.